Kristina, Zachary with the Zachary team with Phyllis Brown and Company. We are back here with another podcast of our podcast, Home Sweet Home San Antonio Live. Today we are going to be joined by Sara, and she is the CEO of Tribu, which is a marketing and advertising agency here in San Antonio. So I can't wait to get that started. But thank you so much for joining our podcast. We're super excited to have you here today, and I just can't wait to get started. But in the meantime, we hope you guys are having a wonderful 2024. As always, we are San Antonio's Realtor couple. So if you need help buying, selling, or investing in San Antonio, please reach out to us at 210-504-5301. We'd love to help you out and talk anything real estate. That's what I'm doing all the time. Except for now, I want to get to Sara already. Hi, Sara. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Welcome to our podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Don't be nervous. We're just going to have cool conversation. Cool. There's millions of people watching.
Nice.
So just to kind of start off, tell people your name, your business, kind of just a little bit about you before we get started.
Cool. So I'm Sara Helmy. I own Tribu Creative. We are a branding and digital marketing agency in San Antonio. Tribu means tribe in Latin. I'm born and raised here, San Antonio. I've got 2 babies at home, 3.5, the oldest, and 1 this month is the youngest. And husband, Jason, of course, also born and raised here. San Antonio's home. Absolutely love it. Place we, started our family, started the business, and grew up.
Okay, so let's talk about, because I was born in Del Rio, but I moved here when I was like 3 or 4. So I'm going to say I'm just born here.
Yeah.
I'm Texan, I'm born here. So I've grown up here just like you. What side of town of San Antonio did you grow up on?
So I actually grew up in Helotes. And
okay.
Yeah. What's funny is it's like...
So the boonies.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, back then.
Yeah. Like right literally outside of my neighborhood, like you could drive just a teeny bit.
Yeah.
And you'd be at like Flores Country Store.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
where they had like the Texas country concerts and all that stuff. So I grew up there. Like in high school, we would just climb onto the roof and we could hear the concerts at Flores.
That is so cool. What high school did you go to?
So I actually went to Health Careers. My home high school would have been O'Connor.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I went to Health Careers. I thought I wanted to be a dentist.
Yeah.
I was off. I did not want to be a dentist. But it was cool. It was a small school, and it made it so that I kind of had friends from everywhere. Health Careers was right next to Marshall High School, so we had friends from over there. My neighborhood had all the O'Connor kids in it, so friends from over there. Like it was cool,
So what year did you graduate?
I graduated 07.
Okay, I was 08.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we would say class of 07 goes to heaven or something like that. You know how every class has their phrase? That was ours.
Maybe we had one, I just don't remember. Class of 08.
I don't know.
Always. I don't know, whatever. Anyway,
always
not going to go
or something. I don't know.
Pretty much. Okay, cool. So you graduate high school and you decide to start Tribu. So tell us about like that journey from high school and wanting to be a dentist to that, because that's 2 totally different industries. Just different.
Totally. There was college in between. So I actually went to college under my major was biomed. The dentist route still.
Okay.
And college was Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and it was selected simply because I just wanted to be by the beach, and it was the closest beach. So that was how I made my college decision, and it was actually like in college. Also, that was a blessing in disguise because TAM-UCC or Texas A&M Corpus, awesome school, super close,
seen
2.5
the campus,
hours
it's
away.
really nice.
Yeah, and it was like that. I didn't know how good of a school it was for me when I picked it, but it ended up being an amazing place. The classes are kind of small. The teachers are really great.
Yeah.
And there was a biology professor in one of my sophomore year classes who was like, are you really wanting to to study science? And I was like, why are you asking me that? Like, I have an A in your class. And he was like, you just don't seem like a science person. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he was like, I don't know. I just thought I would ask. He was like, the road you're on means a lot of time in a lab. It's a lot of introverted work, and you talk a lot. Like, you're very extroverted and social. And I was like, really? So But he asked out of curiosity, but it plugged it in my brain. I was like, wait a second.
It was like planting the seed.
Yeah. I was like, is this what I want to do? You know?
Uh-huh.
And so I switched my major a zillion times until I found marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then came back here after college. Met my husband here during a summer.
Yeah.
Was like, this is going to be a cool summer fling.
Yeah.
And because I'm going back to graduate, you know. And he ended up reorganizing his work schedule so that he could be there for a portion of the week. So he ended up doing long distance, and I was motivated to get back here. You know? And so when I got back here, I did internships at agencies over and over and over again. And they hired me out of college, which I was like, cool. Like the internship wisdom worked. And I did about 6 or 7 months at the agency before I was like, you know what? I want to start my own.
Yeah.
So, sorry, that was a long answer.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
That's how it got from dental to
no, it's really
Tribu.
cool how some people just are in your even like come in your life, even if it's just like a sprinkle of a seed, or they're just like whoop, and then next thing you know they're gone. So it's just really cool how he was able to implant that in your brain. You're like, that's actually really interesting. So what companies did you work for? Or like you said, the 6 to 7 months. What company was that?
It was Boss Creative at and at the time they were about 40 people or so. Yeah. They were a big team for a San Antonio agency.
Oh, yeah.
And they were starting an SEO division. And because they were starting an SEO division, I got to walk in. And because I had done these repeat internships, I got to walk in as their like operations manager for the SEO division that they were starting. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, like I'm so not qualified to do this, but yes, I'll try. Yeah. You know?
I feel like that happens a lot of times in the creative stuff. You're like, I totally do this.
But it was awesome. I had to learn by fire, you know? And within like 6 months or so, the SEO division was doing absolutely great. You know? Unfortunately, I think it's scaled down a bit in size. They're a team of 6 today, and I think they focus a different direction. But they're great. They're honestly great. They're a smaller team today, and I keep in touch with my first boss, the person who opened the door for me, Peter. And I don't know, looking back, I was like, I was young. I only gave them like 6 or 7 months. Yeah. You know? And then was like, I'm going to go start my own. Yeah. But I also have no regret. You know, I wanted to do it.
So I know marketing, everybody can tend to think of, I'm sure when you say, if you go up to just random people, like 100 people, and you're like, hey, when you hear the word marketing or the marketing industry, what do you think of? And I bet a lot of people would have many different answers. So how did you select what type of marketing you wanted to do and go for that? Because I'm assuming, if you think about it, it's an overwhelming industry, or it can be when you think of all the options. So how did you narrow down those options for yourself?
Incredibly overwhelming industry. Yeah. There's a combo in marketing that I absolutely love, and it's when you have like really, really stellar creative paired with really strong digital marketing. And what I love about it is that the creative, really good, clever creative drives digital marketing results harder. At the same time, really good creative is oftentimes not very measurable. Yeah. On its own. And digital marketing makes it measurable. Yeah. You know, digital marketing is just measurable, period. You know, in so many different ways. It was that combo. It was less like, I want to do this type of marketing and this type of marketing. It was like, I want that combo. Like, and where can we find that combo? That someone who's doing that combo really, really well. And San Antonio, like at the time that Tribu was starting, you would walk up to somebody and be like, hey, can I do your business's social media marketing? And they'd be like, why do I need that? Yeah. You know?
It was like when it's barely starting up.
It was just starting out. And so that combo or agency specializing in that like wasn't here yet. And that's what got me really exciting, is like, I want that combo and I want it in San Antonio.
Yeah. So what were the first kind of brands or companies that you started working with?
The first ones, you know, we were really fortunate. Like one of the early believers in what we did that gave us an opportunity was actually like the city of San Antonio. And they were our first American Advertising Award, and they were doing they were doing a project called Better Block SA, where they're
Yeah.
trying to kind of like,
I've heard of it.
Okay, and they needed a logo for it, and they gave us that opportunity, and those were in our early years, and I just super grateful for that. That's another thing about San Antonio. I'm like starting a business here. Like the community is incredibly supportive. Like, you know, I was like a young, like a pretty much, I don't know if I still am, but I was like, I was a kid back then saying, I want to start this agency, and the city of San Antonio and all these organizations were supporting them. Like, that's beautiful. You know,
I love San Antonio. There's that saying of a big city with a small town feel, and it feels like
totally true.
Everybody knows somebody, or you're like, oh yeah, I know that person, and you're like, whoa, I would have never thought that connection would be made. So it just seems that I really love that about San Antonio, especially when you're an entrepreneur or coming up. You need that support and you need that community. And if you can't find it, I feel like you just tend to kind of fail. And it's really good that you found that community.
Well, and this place is just so incredibly friendly, you know?
Yeah, it is.
I take for granted when I go somewhere else and people are like, oh, it's super weird that everyone holds the door open for you. And I'm like, what? I grew up in that. Like, that's not automatic everywhere. Like,
oh, it's not?
I don't know. Or opens doors for you when you're walking into a gas station or whatever. I've heard so many people tell me like that's something they notice about Texas.
That is true. I'll give you that. Because when we go out of the state or because my mom's family is from Minnesota. So anytime we travel up north, I mean, nothing against the other states or anything, but the hospitality lessons where I notice it, I'm like, it's just a different vibe. I swear, the moment you leave Texas, you cross that border, you're like, this is different, and I want to go back.
I love Texas.
I do too. I say I'm a Texan. I'm not American. I'm Texan. Anyway, so I hope I don't get canceled for that. People are like, oh, Kristina. Okay, that's so cool. So, what are the brands that you're kind of working with now, and how are you guys kind of just going against actually, you know what, let me kind of revert back because I just thought about another question that could kind of come before that. COVID, I know that affected a lot of businesses and all that. So how did that affect your business, and how did you guys maneuver around it?
Honestly, for us, it was a crazy year. But it ended up being really good. There were moments where we were very uncertain in that year. Also, at the time, I was, this is like a personal aside, but I was like 8 months pregnant when that shutdown happened.
Oh my gosh.
7 or 8 months pregnant. So I was like, oh my God, we're fully remote. We've never done that before. Although I do feel we were better poised because we work on the cloud, digital marketing, like all of the tools and technologies.
A lot of it's online already.
Very familiar
digital.
with, and we were already using them in our office, you know? So that wasn't too crazy of a change. But you know, we had a lot before COVID. We had a lot of dental contracts, like with dentists. We
Ironic.
had a lot. Yes, we even had. There was another sector where we had a lot of that just got. I forget what it was, but they got super shut down. Oh, we had events. Like we had San Antonio Auto Show, and you know, and all those contracts just had to go away overnight. It was, you know, and it made perfect sense. Like. How could they stay on and pay a marketing bill when there's going to be
no events?
Yeah, they couldn't even take a patient, you know? So there was those moments where it was just really scary. But then there was also the other side of COVID where everybody needed to go digital. So anybody who hadn't fully caught up yet or wasn't digitally focused in their marketing efforts was a massive opportunity for us. And so all in all, it ended up being a really great year for us financially. But it also, just like for everybody else, was a very crazy year for us because while we ended up being okay, it was like we switched so many of our customers because of shutdowns, and you know, it was taxing. Yeah. And so now, years later, of course, mandates have been lifted and we're kind of back to normal life pretty much. Do you still see it, like, has your business kind of bounced back completely, or is it still kind of like some companies just are still kind of really trying to play safe, like, I think, get the guidelines and stuff? I think we've bounced back completely. You know, something that we left inside of our culture that COVID kind of started was the hybrid. So like the hybrid working situation.
Yeah.
What was interesting is like at the start of COVID, I thought that my team would be very like opposed to ever like, I thought they would be like on cloud nine about working from home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I thought that they would likely be opposed to ever coming back. And what is interesting about Tribu is I ended up with the opposite simply because of the dynamic and makeup of our team. Like
Yes.
a lot of them are like mid to late 20s. Maybe they live in an apartment by themselves or they moved to San Antonio to work at Tribu.
Yeah.
And they were like, I need to go into the office. So one of the issues I didn't predict is that they wanted to come back before anybody was allowed to go back.
Yeah.
There was about half of them that were like, let me back in.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that just in general, humans are just social creatures in general, but I think living in Texas and especially San Antonio, with it being such a friendly city, when you're cocooned and you still deal with that, but that energy of, you can't really reach that same energy with talking to someone over the phone or a Zoom call or something. There's something different. So I think when you have a great vibe or just a great city to live in, it's like you miss that and you start to feel like I need to get back to that.
Yeah.
Like for my mental health.
Totally. We had the other half though that were like, yeah, I love this. Can we do this forever? And I was like, man, I don't know how to make both sides happy. So what we did was and that's what remains inside of Tribute today.
Yeah.
Is the hybrid work situation where Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we want everybody in the office collaborating. That's important in creative work. You know? But Tuesdays and Thursdays, we don't call it work from home. We call it work from anywhere. We're like, we don't care if you're working at a coffee shop, at your home, wherever you got Wi-Fi and can be connected. So that's kind of, that remained. Everything else I think has bounced back and has normalized. You know?
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And the people that come, you say that you have some employees that move to San Antonio. Where do you find them that they're coming from?
Well, oftentimes, like it'll happen that in college. So we've got one who moved here from Maryland. That one's not a post-college one. She wanted to be in Texas. She came here. Originally, I think HEB brought her to San Antonio. So she's from Maryland. Kind of new to Texas, absolutely loves it here, determined to never leave. We've got another one who's from the Seattle area, went to college here at Trinity. She did repeated internships with us. We said, we don't want to lose you. Will you stay? And then she ended up meeting her fiance here as well. So
I love it.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it happens is like, you know, oftentimes we're not the ones bringing them in primarily unless it's like internship repeated in college. They graduated. We're like, please stay. They love the job. Then they'll stay, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Now, marketing, just like any industry, especially like real estate, what we know is there's a ton of trends.
Totally.
Like, and they go, sometimes I feel like they recycle very quickly to even keep up with.
Trends.
Yeah. And sometimes you're like, you don't know if it's going to last. And the trend that you didn't think was going to last is like going on for years. So how do you guys deal with the different trends? And what are your current favorite trends now in marketing?
Well, the big one that everyone's talking about, AI.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly, we like that trend. And
it comes in handy.
People are like, it's going to take your jobs. I'm like, actually, like, so far it's made our jobs even better. It will change our jobs. But I think it changes our jobs for the better, honestly.
Yeah. I think you just have to know how to adapt to it.
Totally. Yeah.
And have it work with your business.
Right. Like I think in the future, if you're a marketer, it'll be like, how good are you at prompting AI? Also, AI needs a lot of fact checks still.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that you can't we're not yet to a place where you could take what AI spits out and use it as it is. Like you could, but it's probably not the greatest it's going to be. You know?
Yeah.
We're using it right now to put like, things inside of photos that weren't necessarily there when we did the photo shoot to kind of enhance the photo, which is cool. Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah. The other trend is TikTok, you know, I don't know that that's a trend as much as I think it's here to stay. Like, I think that some of the advertising performance we've seen on TikTok channels actually does better than other social media channels sometimes. Yeah. Which is a little scary to me because it's not like a US company.
Yeah.
But our job is to bring performance.
Yeah.
And So that's a big trend, I think. And our world just swims in trends. Like, I don't know if y'all remember Threads when that came out and was super popular for a week.
Yeah. And then they're gone.
Yeah. So it's just like, for us, it's swimming in trends, and it's also too deciphering which one of them is a trend worth hopping on. Like a trend that's going to be sticky enough that it's worth investing in.
Yeah. Like essentially TikTok was very much 60 seconds and under. Then they upgraded to 3 minutes. And now they have the 10-minute feature. So is that something that you guys are doing as well? Or how do you... Because I know that's such a big thing from 60 seconds to 10 minutes. Is that something you guys are utilizing?
We haven't. I can't recall that we've utilized the 10-minute feature regularly yet. I know that we definitely enjoyed like longer videos and the ability to do that. One of them, like one of our customers is Murray Plumbing, and we just used TikTok to do kind of like an MTV Crib style of showing one of their plumbing trucks where one of the plumbers gave you a tour of everything. And I know that was an instance in which they used like a longer version, but I don't think we've gotten to the 10-minute regular usage that TikTok allows yet.
It's hard to think about what to put in 10 minutes. Well, I guess if you like us, we're just like, we could just talk. What are you talking about? 10 minutes? Nothing. So now, what are your favorite brands to work with currently? We kind of said some brands that you started out with, but what's something you're really happy about right now?
Oh, I love all the brands we work with. But I'm really excited about Heaven's Door Whiskey. That's Bob Dylan's whiskey.
Yes.
So we do some work with them, and I just love it, honestly. It's just fun. There's so many that are fun. We've got a restaurant that I'm really excited about that we're doing the branding work for, coming to La Cantera, The Rock, that development.
Yes.
It's affiliated with the Spurs development, and it will be, I think, quite a sizable restaurant. It's a I don't know how much I can say about it yet because it's not out in the world yet.
Yeah.
Yes. But I'm deeply excited for that. I'm excited for the market's gonna like put on our community that we're gonna have that place to enjoy. And it's just, to me, incredibly exciting to be working on the brand for that.
Exactly. And like we said, there's so many cool businesses and different restaurants. I love Houston's food scene.
Totally.
And I feel like San Antonio's a couple years behind, but we're really starting to catch up. So do you find that, and if you can give me like a percentage, like a restaurant, that's an industry, the restaurant industry, or like a digital company, kind of what takes up most of your business?
What takes up?
Like an industry.
Branding or industry?
Yeah, or just in general.
Honestly, we're everywhere in terms of industry, and we didn't do that on purpose. We wanted the type of, we like to work with someone who wants to disrupt or be a little different, and we were like, we don't care so much about the industry as long as they have that like disruption. I want to be different. That would make them a fit for us. Yeah, because we want to push, right?
Yeah.
But this year we decided that we really get most of our joy, and this is so broad, it's not even an industry. I can't claim it as an industry niche, but we really get most of our joy out of brands that are B2C focused over B2B focused. We love our B2B business, our business to business brands. Yeah. Like, we absolutely enjoy them and we love them. We're not saying like, oh, kick out, but we are, we would never do that. We love our customers, but our focus in marketing going forward is much more geared towards business to consumer brands.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, we enjoy them. And one thing that I would like Tribu to do more of too is like incubate or support some of the really small business to consumer brands, because when those brands first start, the business consumer brands most of the time have much more competition, and when
they need a lot of attention,
right? So their competition is more fierce, and they're going up against people that have a lot of resources. And so I because it's what we're passionate about, I kind of want Tribu to kind of focus on or start, how can we help those early stage business to consumer brands? Yeah.
So how do you go about finding those brands? Is there someone on your team who does that, or do you wait for them to come to you? Kind of how does that process work?
So Jason and Matt, those are the two at Tribu that handle like new business at Tribu.
Yeah.
And honestly, they participate in the geekdom community events and they're out networking.
Yep.
And yes, I mean, we get some like obviously like we get some through our digital marketing efforts.
Yeah.
Hopefully, right?
I hope it works.
Hopefully we're
I think
selling
it
it
works
for everybody else. It works for us too.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we get some through there. But honestly, even as a marketer, I would say, like, even as the marketer that sells all that stuff, I would say nothing works more than getting out there and talking to people and building your community and like networking, and nothing's better than that.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure. So do you find a majority of your business is San Antonio businesses, or do you have some more Texas based, or like national or global? What kind of?
So like the Bob Dylan brand Heaven Store Whiskey, that's actually based in Chicago.
Yeah.
I find when we first started, it was primarily San Antonio. Now I think Texas. There's one in Chicago. They're everywhere in the U.S. If they're in the U.S., like we'll serve that brand. We're not gonna pretend that we're equipped to do global marketing. We're not. Like, But if they're in the U.S., we'll serve that brand. And I would still say the vast majority of our work is coming from Texas.
Yeah. So are you guys a part of the Chamber of Commerce? Have you guys thought about that?
Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. In San Antonio, local chamber?
San Antonio, the Greater Chamber. Greater San Antonio Chamber of Commerce.
I don't know if we are. I don't think we are.
Yeah, you definitely should.
Be.
Gabriel and I just became ambassadors. Hashtag
Hey,
San Antonio
congrats.
Chamber of Commerce.
Ew.
The mug's right there.
Oh yeah, we have a mug, and actually, the Game of Life right behind you. The Chamber of Commerce had a huge part in designing that and putting it to work.
That's so cool.
Isn't it the most adorable thing?
Yes.
I love it. And we've actually, one of our children opened it because I was like, don't play it, just like look at it because I'm curious too. But yeah, it's a great. Oh my God, there's my.
Oh, you gotta play this. I want to play this so bad.
It's fun. I don't know if it's
cool.
fun, but I'm sure it's like very like nostalgic in a sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chamber of Commerce brings a lot of just businesses together and in making decisions, and it's just a wonderful community. We have a monthly meeting, changes locations, just a bunch of networking and getting together with a bunch of businesses.
We should join. I've heard great things, honestly.
You really, really should. So look into that. We can actually hook you up with Oliver Garnier. He was the one who helped us join and get us on that path. So
sure, I would love that.
You know, I'm gonna put it in my notes. I want to get into kind of present. Now, I know that with Gabriel and I being entrepreneurs and business owners and stuff like that, we can tend to have times when I'm feeling burnt out, or
totally
having kids and like work and life balance. How do you find the time for that? Do you have a schedule? Kind of go through that now that you're kind of like a new mom and everything, and you have 2 babies, so just tell us all about it.
So honestly, I'm not perfect at that. I will admit that.
We never are.
Yeah, I don't think
we
you can be. And I do think women put a lot of pressure on themselves to
really do.
Be able to do absolutely everything at 100. And nobody can do absolutely everything at 100. I think you make choices, and I do think it's possible. This sounds skeptical, but I don't think it's actually possible to have it all. But I think it's possible to have a lot that's very meaningful to you. So I have a lot of quality time with my children that's very meaningful to me.
Yeah.
And I have a lot invested into my business that's very meaningful to me. Mm-hmm. I think it's an active, you have to actively take an hour to yourself to just reflect and be like, where needs me most right now in accordance to my priorities. And sometimes
they overlap sometimes. It feels
they
like
overlap.
It, right?
Yeah. Obviously at the end of the day, my children are number one.
Yes.
But your business is your baby too.
It is.
Yeah. And so sometimes they overlap. And I think sometimes they're going to be at odds with each other. And I think being reflective and intentional about, okay, in the moments where they're at odds, which one's taking the lead and for how long? And that rotates,
Exactly.
I don't think anybody has it perfect. So I can't even tell you here's the schedule and it happens like that every day.
Yeah.
Because that is so not true.
Yeah. I'm currently working on a schedule now, and I'm like, I really hope this helps.
It's like I could tell you the schedule for the next 2 weeks. You know?
Or sometimes my mom will be like, how come you haven't called to talk about this weekend or something? I'm like, Mom, I'm living day to day. Okay, like I can't think till for about tomorrow even. You know what I mean? So. Totally understand that. Now, growing up in San Antonio, we've seen so many changes happen to the city. And I think in the past, I would even go as far back as, or at least 5 years.
Oh, totally.
It's so much change in 5 years.
There was no Pearl when we were younger.
I know. We were talking about it today when we were doing that other video. They used to call, and I was like, it triggered a memory in me because we actually used to call, I don't know if anybody knows this, but if you remember it, please comment below. They used to call 604 the death loop. Because, did you ever hear that?
No.
That term? Yeah, because there was nothing out here at all. And it was just like kind of
it's just like grass.
Yeah, just grass and nothing. So they used to call it the death loop because it would lead you to nowhere in a sense, or you would feel like you're just driving and driving and driving and it like goes nowhere. So
I know now they're doing all this work on it and more lanes, right? Yeah. And as long as I've ever known, that's a 2-lane highway. Not anymore.
No.
You know? Like, yeah.
I remember when 604 had stoplights on it.
Yeah.
Like at Bandera and at Culebra. And it caused so much traffic. So then they're like, we should have adjusted this a long time ago.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite places and places to visit in San Antonio? What are your favorite things to do, to eat? Kind of just talk about San Antonio life.
Honestly, I love... There's 2 places that I just go to. The Rim, because it's close to my house.
Yeah.
And I love that place. Yeah.
It's a good place.
Yeah. And I love that they're like the rock development that's coming to that area. I'm really excited about that. I think that will be a lot of fun. The other, and it's funny because I have my life in 2 very different areas of San Antonio. The other one is like near the Pearl. That's where I work.
Yeah.
And
but those are very like similar, but they're very different. The Rim and the Pearl area.
Yes, they totally are. And what I really love about that Pearl area or just downtown in general is like these cool little pockets that are developing outside of the big development.
Yep.
How it's bringing like all this cool culinary and all these awesome restaurants and all like there's just, and it honestly sometimes it makes me feel old because I'm like, everybody's talking about this hip new restaurant and I'm like, what? Wait, where? When did that show up?
You kind of feel like a tourist yourself and I'm like, I live here. What are we talking about?
Yes. But yeah, it's crazy to think. I mean, like, I don't remember how many years ago it was now that there was no Pearl, but I remember growing up here, like the thing to do if you were like a high school kid was just like, okay, walk around the mall.
Yeah.
And you
or
had
Fiesta
Chili's,
Texas or SeaWorld
or Fiesta Texas. Your parents would just drop you off at Fiesta Texas and be like, pick you up at this time.
Yeah.
You know? Like, now I'm like, oh my God, there is so much to do. I think there was always something to do, but there is just so much more to do. It's cool. Like the pace of development here is awesome.
Yeah, and it's just very rapid. It feels like I can't even keep up, like you just said. I know that by the Pearl, so I love how that area kind of where you are close to work, they're trying to make it the walkability score higher.
Oh, yeah.
And so I know you have like St. Mary's and then the Pearl, so they're trying to make that whole spot just this real, like just completely revamp. And I think they actually... I saw it on the news, or not, I didn't see it on the news, but I saw it in an article a while ago. But kind of where 281 and 35, and it's that sign where you are beautiful. You know that sign?
Yeah.
Right? Right across from that is kind of like the Pearl and the St. Mary's area. They're really kind of just revamping that whole spot. I think Red McCombs or his business.
They purchased all that land and they're going to turn it into like live, work, play space. And it's right by the Pearl too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're going to just be able to walk over there. So it's just really cool.
It's lovely.
Have you tried Best Quality Daughter?
I love that place.
I love it.
Yeah.
The drinks are good. The food is good. And inside is so cute and creative.
Yes. A funny story. I once took you know, I love that place. I do a lot of business lunches there.
Nice.
And
It's a good place to.
Yeah,
good on
except
you.
for if you have a peanut allergy.
Oh,
I once took somebody who had a peanut allergy, and he was like fine with it. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'll try. I'll just order something, whatever they got without peanuts." And I felt like they were like, "Okay, we got to be like extra careful because it's like peanut." Or nuts and everything there.
Yeah.
You know, it's absolutely delicious. Like,
so if you haven't been there, Best Quality Daughter, I know it sounds like a really interesting, funky name, but it's very Asian infused, and it's just amazing. You guys have to go try it.
Also, they did awesome. Like, he enjoyed his meal too.
Yeah.
It was just a funny story. Yeah.
And there's also that culinary, like a bunch of culinary students go there, and they learn to run a restaurant, and I forgot what it's called, but
CIA, right? The Culinary Institute of America. My brother went there. That's
Did
what
he
I know.
really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, the amazing food, and it's just so cool watching somebody, because you know they're actively learning something, so you feel like you're a part of their learning experience, which is
you're talking about the restaurant they have that's connected to the school.
Yes.
Yeah, I forget the name of it too, but it's a great place.
Okay, but we're talking about the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that place is a cool experience. Like,
it is. I took my best friend, I think, for her birthday, and it was just
Yeah.
I felt really cool, but I was like, oh my god, they're learning.
We went one time to support a dinner that my brother was doing, and they did this like churro, like Mexican hot chocolate dessert.
Oh my god.
And it was like to die for.
Yeah.
And we like totally abused my brother after that. We were like, now that we know, you know how to make that.
Yeah.
You're making that all the time.
So let's kind of also, I just thought about it right now, and I was like, I should have asked this earlier. Tell me about where you got the word Tribu from, and why was that chosen versus, or did you have any other names? Sometimes that's really cool to hear other potential names that you thought about calling your
I can't
business.
even remember what the other ones are now, but we literally had like a list with like 50 names on it. And Tribu wasn't one of the 50 on it, you know?
Yeah.
And then when we heard Tribu, we were like, at first we were like, well, what does that mean? You know? And when I learned what it meant, I was like, oh, it really doesn't matter. That's our name. Like, it means tribe in Latin, Spanish, French. It pulls from the word tribe. And that's what we aim to do, is build tribes for these really awesome brands and these really awesome businesses, you know? That combo of creative and measurable digital marketing, like the result of that done really well is a tribe. Like loyal consumers, loyal followers that love a brand, that talk about a brand, that community around a brand. And so that's where the name came from.
So do you have any mentors in the business?
So many. I have so many mentors that I'm super, super grateful for. My first one actually came from one of our first clients here, which was like First Mark Credit Union. Their CMO at the time, Fred Hagerman. That was my first like San Antonio business mentor. You know, first real mentor in life, of course, my father. You know, like he passed, went to heaven, but he was the first. You know. But Fred Hagerman, and that just speaks to like the San Antonio business community. I think he ended up moving for a job to a different place, but it was just, I reached out to a stranger on LinkedIn, said, hey, I'm like this person and I'm starting this and I have this dream. And he was like, well, I'll give you a job. Like, I'll give you a project I have. And also, sure, I'll meet you for coffee. And then he grew into a super valuable business mentor, you know? Tom Cuthbert, he runs the Vistage community. Have you heard of Vistage? Yeah.
It sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
Okay. It's a bunch of, they have a lot of like leadership peer groups and training and development. They do some networking events, and really it's a great place. They have a CEO group or like peer group, and that's a great place, honestly, to meet other business owners who, you know, oftentimes going through some hard stuff, like you mentioned, burnout, things like that. They kind of just support each other and lift each other up. Tom Cuthbert is the chair of my Vistage peer group, and he's become a great mentor as well. like when you say mentors, I'm like, I could go on for like hours because there are so many people that I'm grateful for that just didn't owe me anything and taught me so much, you know?
And I think that just speaks true to the community in San Antonio, or just where we kind of started with the friendliness of the people and them willing to help. And it's just sometimes out of the goodness of their heart, there's such a genuine, mood and like love in the city of San Antonio. And it really breaks my heart sometimes when I hear people don't have that good of an experience. So
really? I've never heard that.
Only a couple times. Like some people are they are like want to move here, and they're here for a little bit just trying to try it out, and sometimes they get really bad feedback. They're like, I hate the people here, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. We would have picked you up and taken you to a good restaurant. You don't go by yourself. Like, we'll show you the good part of San Antonio. But that's really cool that you find those people. They've, I think just people, sometimes we can attract people to gravitate towards us. So sometimes it's just things happen for the right reasons, Also, right, we have to have small wins as business owners. We have to have big wins as business owners. What's some of your favorite wins that you've kind of both personal or in the business that kind of made you feel really good? And you're like, wow, that's helping me keep going.
Wins? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm too hard on myself because I know it. Like,
I know exactly how that is. So I'll probably relate. I'll be like,
big wins, honestly. They say most businesses fail before 10 years, right? Yeah. So for some reason, like 10 years was so special to me. Because when I set out to start Tribu, it was just like I knew, even though I was very young, I knew the risk. I knew the number of them that do not survive and probabilities, and that I was choosing to do something that, I needed to beat. Unfavorable odds. So for some reason, even though my mission is to go way longer than 10 years, hitting that 10-year mark felt very special to me. Yeah. Little wins, I say there's little wins every day. To me, the little wins that I love the most are like when you see, like when there's a designer doing something awesome and you could see that they just got passionate and that passion went exactly the right direction and they are working on the coolest brand and bringing it to life. Yeah. Absolutely. I love that moment, Yeah.
And you're not just only helping the business, but that person, that employee is also being helped.
That growth, yes. Yeah. Like that growth and that joy moment in work. I'm a big believer in like work is a huge part of life to just throw in the trash, do something that you love. And so if I see that happening at Tribu, like I see people getting that from Tribu, that's a huge achievement to me. Yeah.
Because your business is your baby and you're like, oh wow, that felt really, really good.
Right. Right. Like I want people to love their work. I think work is still work, right? But I want to create an environment that as much as one can love work, they can love coming to Tribu. They can love growing there. They can love being challenged there. They can feel secure there. And, that's what and practice their craft. Like have a place where you can really, really get excellent at your craft. It's not my achievement at all. But anytime I see a tribe member like get married or have a baby or, I celebrate that so hardcore. I'm like, okay, cool. Tribu had like a little teensy itsy bit of a hand in that life that's forming now. Like, awesome.
Yeah. Having a supportive husband and all of that stuff, but you also have the core of your business. So that's also your baby. And I know you guys aren't in business together, but you still, husband and wife still have to work together.
Totally.
A lot. And, a business is very trying sometimes, and having a family or is just trying because you're being pulled in so many different directions. So how do you find working together has helped you?
Man, it took us, now we've been doing it so long, we can't imagine anything different, right? But it took us a long time. Like, I think at the beginning, it was cool that we got to practice working together before we had babies together, babies together and working together is like level 2 in the video game. Like, I don't know, 5, 6, 100.
10? I know, it's like 100.
Yeah, but like those first couple of years, we actually did argue a lot about a lot of different things inside of the business. Probably drove some people crazy. They were just like, "That's just Sarah and Jason," But we learned, like over time, we learned how to divide and conquer, and to really truly let each other own each other's spaces. So like I love sales. I absolutely love sales. But Jason owns sales at Tribu. Like, he's responsible for setting the sales goal, the new business goal, managing everybody who works in that area of Tribu. You know, and he really, like, has a lot of autonomy and freedom over how that happens.
Yeah.
I manage more of the operations and the work process and things like that. And of course, I will never fully exit sales. I love sales. So I still do some sales. But when I have somebody saying, hey, want to talk to you about this, I say, okay, great. I'm really excited. And Jason's going to write the proposal, talk to you, take it over the line. And I can trust that. Does that, you know, so finding our own
makes a lot of sense.
Finding our own areas inside where it's like, you own this, you own this.
Yeah.
Like, because we both needed to be able to come home at the end of the day and trade stories. That's important too, where it's like, I genuinely, until I get home, have no idea what his work day was like. And he doesn't have any idea what my work day was like, even though it's in the same place.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, healthy. And that allowed us to, like, achieve that together, you know? So we actually purposely don't work together at work. That was the answer.
No, that's great. It works differently for everybody. But I think because Gabriel and I are literally together like 24/7. We're just joined at the hip. And even sometimes when it's like there might be an opportunity to separate, and we're like, okay, I think we do need to divide and conquer. It's going to be weird. But just for a moment in time, something happens and it like out of our hands and it brings us back together. I'm like, that's kind of weird how the universe is like, no, y'all need to just be together. So I think that working together, whether it's like neck and neck, right by each other, or just in the same business, it's so funny. Cause I don't know did you guys feel this when you're like, oh, we have great communication in our relationship. We're going to be great working together. We got great communication, great trust, a great foundation. And then when you start working together, it's a whole different entity. And it's like, you don't even know that person anymore. Did you guys experience that as well?
A little bit, yes. So when we started working together, Tribu was already like, I had already started Tribu and it was already about like a year and a half old.
Okay.
And so he was, you know, and one day I had an uncle who was like, hey, you know what? I think you should just hop into this business. Jason was studying architecture. He was still in school. He wanted to be an architect.
Yeah.
I actually fought it. I was like, no, because we're about to get married and I don't want him to look back one day ever and say he didn't pursue his thing. He just jumped into my thing. You know, like that would be a bad equation.
Yeah.
So I was very like, no, like that's not, and he was like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So I forgot what your original question is. And then just like went on that story.
No, you're fine.
But so we already knew, kind of, not really, not to the extent that you find out.
Yeah.
But we already knew, like working together might not be like the best for us. And we had skepticism about it going in. That skepticism helped. It actually is the best for us because we know nothing different now. We've built our whole life that way.
Yeah.
But that skepticism helped. Even with that skepticism, though, we were still jolted. The same way that you say, like,
you're a red personality right now, and or I'm a red personality. You want to be blue today? This is how do we communicate like that? Okay, cool. So we are coming up on the hour. So I wanted to do this before I forget. So I love art. I love being creative. It's kind of like what I told you in the beginning. I was all over the place before I met him. All over the place with just creativeness. So what I like to do is I like to create canvases out of wax, like crayon wax, and I like to melt the canvases. So
that is super cool.
We give it to clients for closings, and Gabriel, it's like, hey, why don't you do it for all of our podcast guests? So I'm keeping the tradition alive. So I have a canvas for you today.
Thank you.
And
oh my gosh.
Here you go.
This is so cool. And this is made out of crayons?
Yep. Crayons. Melted crayons and crayon wax. And
I love it.
Yeah,
thank you.
You're welcome. So, and our business card is on the back because, you know, you have to drop your business name all the time.
So cool.
So... yeah, put it wherever you'd like or do whatever you want with it, but that's just a gift from us to you. And thank you for bringing us pralines.
Of course.
I'm like, of course I'm trying to lose weight, but
Man,
I'm going to
this
eat
is
these
special.
pralines.
This is really cool. This
Thank
is
you.
This is an awesome memory of this too. Now, like, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So I hope you enjoy it. I would have asked what your favorite colors were first, but sometimes I just go with the flow.
I love it.
Okay, cool.
I love the ones you picked.
Yeah. And to continue on, tell us what you have in plans for the future. And
The future?
Yeah. Where do you see yourself in y'all's business 5 years from now?
Definitely that B2C route that we were talking about. I hope 5 years from now we have really, really like driven our marketing, our language, and the way that we talk about ourselves at Tribu in that direction. Honestly, that tribe building aspect. So I don't want to sound like more of the same, but
sometimes, like, why
more
change
of the same
it?
but better? Like,
I enhanced.
Yes, and honestly, I see our kids being a little bit older, and I'm very excited to explore that too. Like, I don't want Tribu ever to be a really large company that employs hundreds and hundreds. That's never been my ambition or my dream, but I've always wanted Tribu to be the best at what we do. Yeah. And I think we actually, like, being the best is not just in a phrase, but that's actually a very big goal, to be the best at what it is we currently do. And so in 5 years from now, I hope we're tracking towards that, and we've gotten much deeper, because I do think that pursuit is, it's going to, how long does it take to be the best at something? Yeah. Does that,
Yeah. So do you have other marketing agencies that you look up to, or that you kind of aspire to, whether it's local or just like a global or national brands? Kind of what agencies do you look up to, or you're like, wow, I'm inspired by them?
There's a lot, honestly. The digital agencies, there's an agency called Huge, there's an agency called Basic. These are the big guys. They're working with the Googles of the world. They're launching Beats, like brands like Beats. Yeah. They're doing big time e-commerce, like they're building like the Under Armour e-commerce and the Nike e-commerce, and their digital capability is just awesome. And I look at like some of their work and I ogle at it, Yeah. And so those would be two that I think I admire on the digital side. In terms of the creative side, oh my God, there's so many, and it's less to me admiring like the agency sometimes, and more admiring like the actual pieces of creative that came out of whatever agency.
Cool. Yeah. And one last question before we get to the live to the Q&A question. Tell us about some awards you've gotten, magazines you've been in, and all that jazz.
Oh, wow. So Tribu's won over 100 awards for our work, which I'm really proud of. Some of them, American Advertising Federation, from the American Marketing Association, from the Academy of Interactive and Visual Arts. Yeah. The Webbies, not the Webbies, I'm sorry. Hold on. Whoa. We haven't won a Webby yet. The W3 Awards. Oh, okay. The Tellys, like.
The Webbies is big.
Yeah, the Webbies is a big deal. And so we've been blessed with over 100. And that I'm very proud of it, and honestly, that's credit to the tribe. Like, that's their work that takes those awards. I feel blessed. I was nominated for the San Antonio Business Journal, like, Women's Leaders Awards. Yeah. Magazines and stuff. Some of our work's been on Entertainment News, BuzzFeed, The Economist, like some BuzzFeed. Cool places. I've written some Forbes articles through the Forbes Agency Councils. I don't know. I feel blessed for it, but those are the places we've been and awards we've won.
Yeah. Nice. So, is there anything else you want to add? Anything interesting? Got something coming up before we head out?
Just stay tuned for some really exciting stuff coming to San Antonio. Like, we're working on some incredibly exciting brands right now. I bet. And I wish I could talk about them. They're not there yet. Yeah. But in 6 months' time, you will know. When you hear about that exciting thing, you will be like, that's what she was talking about.
One of our first guests, Joe Campa, he does he's in the Chamber of Commerce, but he does the something specific, but I forgot his title in the Chamber of Commerce. I can't think it at the top of my head. But he was like, "There's some big things coming. Can't really tell y'all right now, but it's just really cool to know really cool things are coming. Like I don't know. There's just this vibrating energy in San Antonio. Sometimes you just feel it. You see the construction going on. You see things expanding, things getting bigger, restaurants coming, new areas are developing, and it's just this wonderful place to be in. So I think you are in a great location, and I think your business is just going to continue to grow. It just has to. There's no other way. You know what I mean? You're going to go 50 years.
I hope so. If I got them in me.
Okay, so tell the YouTube world. It's straight to the camera, and tell them a little bit about you, where they can find the website, contact information, a little bit of zing, all that jazz.
Cool. So Sara Helmy again, founder of Tribu. You can find us at wearetribu.com. Our Instagram handles and social media, same thing, at wearetribu. And you can find our contact details there. If you're ever interested in connecting, we would love to hear from you.
Okay, well, thank you, Sara. I was about to
thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming. I know sometimes when we're kind of asking people, we're like, yes, be a part of our podcast. It's at our house, and we live on the far west side. So sometimes they travel a far distance, and I feel bad. But I'm like, here's a canvas. Thank you for your time. No, it was lovely. You're on a podcast. So, but it really helps that you kind of live on this side of town. So even if you live on this side of town, or if you're far away, thank you for making the trip. Sometimes it can be difficult to drive at night, or it's raining or something, but it's actually good weather today. So thank you for coming in general.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
And we'll be in touch too as well. Yeah. But thank you guys so much for watching, and subscribe if you haven't already. Comment below, hit the like button. It really helps the algorithms. Gabriel and I are really, really trying to emphasize on growing our YouTube channel this year. And two things. If you want to be a guest on our podcast, please get in touch with us. We'd love to have you on, especially if you're a mover and shaker here in San Antonio. You want to help promote your business to our lovely audience everywhere. And if you have a luxury listing that is just, you want the YouTube world to see it, and you want a complimentary video done for you, Gabriel and I do that as well. So take a look at that on our channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already, like I said. But yeah, I'm Kristina Zachary. This is Home Sweet Home San Antonio Live. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys next month. And I'm not going to tell you who the guest is, so that's going to be a surprise. So stay tuned. Like us on Facebook and all of the social medias. 210-504-5301. Get in touch. We will see you guys later. Thank you for watching, and bye.